welcome back to CLEARTALK. On this episode, we're going to cover how to handle conflicts in your team.
And then we discuss how to keep your company culture alive during the pandemic.
And lastly, should you outsource or hire a full-time employee? By the way, let us know in the comments down below, how do you handle conflicts in your team? Enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to CLEARTALK. This is the #1 show for entrepreneurs who need clarity and coaches who need clarity in their business and in their life. I'm your host, Armin Shaffi. This is my co-host,
Jeanette Oduro,
on our brand new setup on the CLEARTALK show. I'm excited for this setup. So this is a huge surprise. Pretty much, we got this whole setup last week, and we're like, man, we should change up the feeling of the show. And,
yeah.
The team was looking at me. They're like, we're going to do this, this, and this. Is it okay? And I looked at them. I'm like, listen, I trust you. Just do whatever you want. So I walk in this morning to this entire setup. What do you think about it?
I love it. You know, Isaiah will let you know that we pulled some missions to get this. And by pulling missions, I just mean we had to make a lot of things work. We had to move some things around, but we put it together. And I love it. I think it looks great.
It's definitely, we're like 36 or 37 weeks in.
This is episode 36.
Almost 70% through the year of this show. So doing something different, I think it was about time. So listen up, if you're on YouTube right now and you like content on growing your coaching business, then hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell, and so you can get notified when we post brand new content on how to help you grow your coaching business. The show is posted every single week, and every week on top of that, so twice a week we put out videos. The second time we put out free trainings for different parts of your coaching business on how to grow. If you're on Facebook right now and you enjoy the show and you want other people to benefit from it as well, then make sure you hit that share button right now so that more people can hop on and join the party. And if you're on Instagram, guys, what's going on? Then send this as a DM to somebody so they can hop on and have some fun with us for the next 60 minutes as we answer several questions in the area of business, life, and for coaches who need clarity. So let's get to clear talking. Oh, wait, last thing. If you want your questions answered on this show and to get free coaching from me and Jeanette, then all you got to do is go to askarmin.com and post your questions there. Not only will we send you incredible value in your email, but also we will answer live here and shout you out on the show. So let's get into the first question.
Awesome. So our first question is brought to us from Parvati. I'm having conflict with one of my employees, but they have been with me for a long time and they have the skills I need to help me. How many chances should I give them? I really don't want to have to find someone new.
Good question. Do you have like an initial knee-jerk answer for it? From your side, because you've managed, hired, and fired more people than I have in the last 4 years. She used to run. Like, she's managed multiple companies. I've been building one company for the last 4 years. She's managed multiple in the last 4 years, and she was the head of a very big, like, tech firm. So she was managing, like, 80 employees at one point.
Yeah.
So I want to hear your answer first on this. What do you think? So essentially, the thing is, someone is working with an employee,
they have
conflict. They have a conflict, right? They made a mistake.
Yep.
Something
like that, yeah.
A few times, and they don't want to fire them, so they're like, how many chances should I give before I fire them, or what should I do about it? So what do you think?
So it's interesting that Armin says, well, it's true. I have had to fire and hire some people. Not always 100% my call, but either way, things have to be done. So first off, Pavarti, I would say, ultimately, you should give them one chance. Pretty much just one. Because if you are operating, I'm assuming, by yourself, and you've only got a small group of employees anyways, it might not serve you in the long run to continue to give people chances when they've overstayed their welcome. Also known as, they're exceeding boundaries, they're making mistakes that is detrimental to your business. Based on what you're saying, you want to hold on to them because they're an important part of it, but unfortunately, I would say that it's not worth it. Something or a person or a situation in your business that is causing you to not have peace of mind, is causing you to worry or stress. I will say that you should not go through that for any extended period of time. You got to give them one chance, make it explicitly clear, this is my business, this is my livelihood, this is what I'm building, and I want to give you the opportunity to be here to build this with me. But, if they're going to put your business at risk by making mistakes that are detrimental to your business, and we're not talking like little mistakes here and there. Like, I hope you're not making this decision based on the fact that, like, maybe they had a bad day.
They forgot to put paper in the printer.
Yeah, like don't fire somebody off of minuscule things. But based on what you're saying, it seems like it's kind of a big deal circumstance.
Can you give an example, Jay? Like,
so
because by the way, if you guys want like direct coaching on things, then instead of asking contextual questions like, this kind of thing happens, what should you do about it? Tell us an exact scenario and say, what would you do? You'll get more juicier content from us. But so let's say, give an example of when it is not
a big deal.
Okay. Yeah.
So for example,
fire somebody.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example from somebody from a real life time I had to fire somebody. They were a part of let's say the tech team. So they worked with a small group of like 8 to 10 guys, and they would consistently be in there talking to the different gentlemen about things that were wrong in the business. So something that is very common in startups is mistakes. Because a startup is a new thing, things are being created every day. Things are also being torn down every day. It's like they'll say in a startup, like a year happens in one day, basically. So, we had somebody on our team. We had somebody on our team who was basically just kind of being a negative force, coming into the office every day, saying things like, oh, this is bad, oh, we got to do this again, oh man, why is this a part of our job title, blah, 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 just like consistent complaining. And when he was, let's say, one of the bigger developers on this small team of guys making a website, for example. So if you have one person, one negative energy, one negative voice in a group of a small team, that negative voice will start to become much louder. So he or she will start to influence the group on a bigger scale. So that was an example of one where it was like, if you do not nip this in the butt as fast as possible, it could spread to other people and start to spread the bad energy that you do not need in your business on the ground floor.
So that's a scenario where somebody is like violating a culture.
Yeah, violating a culture.
What about a scenario where someone does a mistake? Like, it's not that they're a bad person. But
Yeah. So like a financial mistake, we're thinking, like an email. Okay, so for example, someone's on your accounting team and they forgot to send an invoice. You needed that invoice so you could pay your bills.
Do you cut them now?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so either way, you apprehend them once. Whenever something happens that is against what you want to happen in your business, you should always apprehend the first time. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you did. Here's how I'd like you to do it instead.
Yeah.
Here's the environment that I want us to create together. You have this opportunity to be a part of my business as I'm building it. I want you to be here. I want you to do things better in the future. Here's how we can work together. And then you have an open conversation about what actually happened and what you'd like to see instead. If the energy persists following that first conversation, it's hey, can I talk to you for a second? Closed door. This isn't going to work situation for me, at least. Yeah. I think in a startup it's really, really important, and you don't really have the leeway to give so many chances, especially if they're going to be detrimental to your business in the long run. But that is just my personal opinion. Armin could of course have another. What are your thoughts? Are you a more than one chance kind of guy?
How about this? Read the question one more time. I want to make sure it's crystal clear.
Sure.
What we're answering here.
I'm having conflict with one of my employees.
Conflict.
But they have been with me for a long time, and they have the skills I need to help me. How many chances should I give them? I really don't want to have to find someone new.
See, it's about conflict, right?
Yeah.
So that can mean it's a culture issue. It can mean that you're arguing with the person. Yep. Maybe they're hard to work with.
Could be anything.
And that, there's a harmony issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. So when there's disharmony in the team, that's the biggest issue you could have in a team where there's disharmony. Because disharmony disrupts the flow of creativity, of customer service, of work ethic, everything. It literally, imagine at home, like when you're at home and there's an issue between you and someone in the family, it disrupts the entire dynamic of the family. So what I'm going to first say is that Jeanette is right in certain scenarios, because when you reach a certain point, you cannot afford to have somebody that is costing you, that is not willing to like fix it and doesn't care as much as you do. If you have people on your team that care less about getting better than you do for them to get better, then they start to turn into a liability. And really it's just a sign that they don't want to be there. Yeah. So someone who doesn't want to fix it after the first chance or whatever clearly isn't, their desire is not strong enough to be there. Maybe you're doing them a favor by letting them go and yourself, because not only is it better for you, but also they can go and find something that they genuinely care about, that they wouldn't want to keep messing up on. So that's one thing. However, there are scenarios where that method probably isn't the best. And in this case scenario, I think we're both right. I'm just going to give a different perspective on it.
Sure.
Because here's my perspective. No one in this room would be here if I didn't give a chance more than once, right? We've all made mistakes.
True.
Made a mistake. I've made a mistake. Even if I didn't give myself a chance, this business wouldn't be alive right now. And so I think my actions show I am a more than one chance kind of person.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So I can't agree with you because with like being that way, because clearly I've only shown that I keep forgiving. So here's a productive perspective on the other side. In a startup, you said mistakes are common.
Yeah.
Right. So if a startup mistakes are common and your rule is only one chance, that means you'll never have enough time with one person for them to get better. Because the only thing inevitable is mistakes.
But small mistakes are very different. Like, depends on the depth.
Conflict, which is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Conflict is a disharmony, right?
True.
But in the beginning, listen. All I'm saying is when you select a person to be in your team first, you obviously want to make sure that the only thing that you have to make sure that they have is harmony at least.
Yeah.
Everything else is learnable. Skills are learnable. Character is learnable. Mistakes can be redeemed. You know, there's always redemption for things like this. But if the person has a bad personality, is the only circumstance where I don't even let them in. It's not a matter of, like, if they're on your team, think about this, okay, if you're watching this. If they're on your team already, there's a reason. There's a reason why you let them in. You didn't just hire them for no reason, right? Remember that reason, because there was a good reason why they came in. But now it's like it's hard to deal with them, but that's everything. There is not like, if their personality is amazing, they'll have a deficiency in skills. So that means you got to build them there. If their skills amazing, but they're hard to deal with, then that means you got to build them there. Funny enough, this question is coming up at a perfect time because I've only been in the last 3-4 days like focusing on just leadership ability and how you handle and treat people, and there's a lot of new things I've learned that I can answer this question with. So here's the kind of compassion that I learned about a scenario like this. When you have a person who is constantly being an issue or making mistakes, and you're like, should I let them go, should I stay with them? Here's the thing. If you're the CEO of a business, right? If you're the leader of the team and you're unwilling to forgive or help this person get better in that way, who else will? So it's like, is it not your job to create an environment or a space where that person can improve those things that they're having issues with? Because if they don't do it with you, they'll just take it somewhere else. So it's like, I'm not saying it's your responsibility to help this person improve themselves. It's their job. But is it not your job at the very least to create an environment where they can? So it's like, you have to become, as a leader, you have to become very accepting of mistakes, of issues and problems from people you work with. Because in the startup, you can't afford to be that strict. Now, if you go into a huge company and their system's already set in place, they have people that have been working there for 5, 10, 15 years minimum, there's already a flow of how things are. There's a standard. You go there and you start, misbehaving, having conflicts or making mistakes because you're just careless. In that scenario, I understand why you would cut someone after first chance, because you can't afford it at that point. You can't afford it because there's already everything set up. Everything's good. So it's just your lack of desire or determination to get good enough to fit into that standard. That I understand. In a startup, in a small team, if you're not making honestly more than $50 million a year in your business, you're a startup. Like, you're still starting. You're small, medium-sized business. In that scenario, the only thing that's going to happen is problems constantly. So your job is to learn how to forgive and improve as fast as possible because your people have to get better. And so I look at my team as a reflection here And there are many people that have come in and out of my business, and I've given them dozens of chances. I mean, like on a practical level where they do something, I'm like, this is obviously wrong, they know it, and then we just move on past it. And on like an internal level where I look at it, I'm like, that's not cool, but I still say nothing. So they don't even know it's a mistake. So there's dozens of chances I've given people, and like after like dozens and dozens and dozens of chances where I've given them every opportunity possible, I feel like, to help them improve, and they still don't, now I get rid of them. Now I don't even I don't go like, I don't want you here. I fire them into their own dreams. I go and do your own thing. Clearly we're not a good match here. So my personal perspective is, unless I feel like I've done everything in my job, on my position as a leader for them, to help them get better at this, or help them solve that conflict, or help them solve those mistakes, I don't feel right letting them go. I feel like I could have done better. You know what I mean? So the whole point is, if you have someone you're conflicted, you're having issues with, it's not a matter of how many chances you should give them. It's a matter of, have you done your absolute best as a leader to give them every possible opportunity to get better in this. There's a famous story of a very popular, a famous pilot who was flying back with 3 passengers from a show to the airport, and this old airplane, right? This like classic model airplane, it's like a collectible. The engines blow in the air. And because the pilot was so good at flying, he somehow was able to land the plane, but the plane was like completely damaged, but he saved the passengers and himself. When he got out, he realized that in the plane, in this classic model plane, there's jet fuel put into it, which is the wrong fuel to fuel this plane. So that's what happened, and that's what blew the engine. So he goes to the mechanic, and the mechanic who fueled the plane before he left flew off, and the mechanic was crying, uncontrollably, because he realized the mistake he had made almost costed these 4 people's lives. And the plane, this multi-million-dollar plane, is now crushed. It's completely gone because he had to crash it to land it. And under any circumstance, any person in their logical mind will look at this person and fire them right there on the spot, right? But this pilot took a different approach. He believed in showing faith in the people that worked for him by giving them a reward for doing the right things instead of punishment for the wrong things. And scientifically, there's been so many studies done where if you punish someone for doing the wrong things, it is less effective in training than if you reward them for doing the right things, right? So they both are conditioning tools, but the rewarding them for good things and encouragement, it works better than punishment. So what he did as a way to show his faith in his employee is he asked that same pilot that just ruined his model airplane to come the next day and work on his plane again, a second plane. So he gave that person a second chance after almost killing 4 people and ruining his multi-million-dollar classic airplane. My point to it is this: that person became the most loyal employee to him ever, because ever since then he never forgot that I made this mistake, but I was forgiven. And where else ever will that person be given a chance like that or forgiveness like that? And so your ability, your capacity to believe in your people so much that you can see the good in them no matter how bad they're being. Your ability and your capacity just to forgive and give a space where this person could grow is, I think, the capacity of how great of a leader you're going to become in your business. And this is something that's very hard to do, but that's why I think it's the right thing to do. It's to create a space where people can get better. You have to be acceptant of people going to have problems. There is no business that's going to have no problems. No leader that's not going to have followers who make mistakes. Nobody. So given that obvious circumstance, that means your capacity to forgive and then work with the person to get better is the capacity of the greatness of your leadership and how successful your company will become. So in my long story short answer, I would give as many chances as possible until that person is better. And that's my job. That's why they're there. Their family is going to condemn them, criticize them for being bad. And that's why they can't go home, most families. Their friends aren't going to do this for them, right? Friends will come and go. Their spouse or partner might not do this for them, but if they can come to work knowing that the person they work with and the person they work for is that forgiving, they'll never leave you. So it's a matter of what's your goal. Do you want to create a culture of loyalty, of long-term relationship, of people that are willing to die for you in the mission? That's the kind of leader you have to be. If you're not looking for it and it's more of a small business that's your goal, then getting rid of people after one chance makes more sense. It's really up to your goal. My personal thing is I want to create loyalty. I want people to be with me for decades. To be that way, I have to be very, very, very forgiving. So much capacity that everyone feels like it's always okay to mess up, to learn, to grow. Armin's not going to crucify us if that happens. He's not going to be angry at us. But see, I still sway off and become volatile on this. So I have to keep grounding myself and go, man, if I wasn't given chances, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know, I have mentors that on multiple occasions should have stopped mentoring me because I was being disrespectful. Maybe I was being ahead of myself. My ego was out of control. But they still forgave me. They still allowed it. They still allowed me to grow. They understood I'm growing. So my response to you is this. It's not about how many chances should I give before I let them go. More so you ask yourself, are you doing your best to know everything? Have you tried everything in your power to help this person understand and learn and grow? Not to tell them they're wrong, but to give them a space where they can feel like they can fix this conflict with you or with whatever. And also just accepting the fact that everyone's going to have problems. It is your job and responsibility to be forgiving, accepting, and creating an environment where they can grow. Personally, I don't see any other environment as a startup where you grow without that. I don't see a company succeeding if the person running it is firing everybody at first chance they get. I don't see that happening. I don't see it. Like I said, unless you have an overabundance of people wanting to get into the work, which is usually at a bigger company, that's the only place where I can see you can afford to be that, black and white, cut you off just because you messed up once. But even under those circumstances, how many people you meet in corporate that love their company they work for because they're like that? Not a lot. The most thriving companies today are forgiving, accepting, and there's so much more humanity in the culture as opposed to, mechanical, like you messed up, you're out. So really just the entire world is moving towards a place where capacity of understanding and forgiveness is becoming more popular than, how many chances should I give you before I let you go. Remember this, the people working for you, they're working for you, not against you. Remember that. So when they make a mistake, they're not here to hurt you. But when you condemn or criticize, or you turn around and you're like, I got to give you another chance, you make the person feel like they're working against you. And they're spending more time with you than family, than friends, than anything else. If they're working full time with you, they spend more time at work than anywhere else in their life. So at the very minimum, you could at least make them feel, and remember yourself, this person's here because they want to be, they want to help, right? They want to help. Now, if you know they don't, that's the circumstance where I go, you don't want to be here, so I don't want you here. But the only circumstance where I fire somebody is when I feel like they don't want to be here anymore. And I make sure I've done everything in my will to make sure that they want to be here, that they enjoy it, and there's no reason why they want to be here. And if I know that I've done everything in my power, genuine inside, being honest, that I've made an environment where there's no reason why they want to be here, and they're still being disharmonious or still finding reasons, then in that case I go, you don't want to be here, so you're finding ways to get out. It's like being in a relationship where you're always fault finding with the other person. You're saying they're like this and they do this and they do. Well, if the other person is being absolutely amazing to you and you're still finding reasons why they're not good, that means you don't want to be with them. So you're subconsciously creating issues with them in your mind so you can justify why you should leave. And that's an employee that doesn't want to be there anymore. In that case, the responsible thing to do as a leader is to release them from their misery. Hey, I feel like you don't want to be here anymore. And I've had those kind of let goes. I've had them. And you know what? Those people went on to do bigger things and better things than they were doing with me. But when I know I'm not doing my best and I know I could be doing better and the person wants to be here and there's reasons that I'm the cause of why they're having conflict, I fix that. And if I fix that and they're still like that, then I let them go because they don't want to be here, not because they're bad. Not because I give you too many chances. Not like that. It's more forgiving. My thing is, make forgiveness a cool part of make it a cool thing in your culture. Everyone needs to mess up. The only way you get better is if you mess up. The only way you get better is if you mess up. You can't succeed unless you fail. You can't be great at something unless you're bad at it first. So how do you expect to grow a culture or a team that gets better? Every person in this room sucked at what they do now when they started. Every person. Imad couldn't even talk to me about 2 parts of a funnel when I first. He didn't even know who Tony Robbins was. And I'm in the industry of Tony Robbins. Right? Isaiah had no idea how to just take a simple font and put it at the top of a video on Keynote. He didn't even know what Keynote was. Right? Lauren didn't know what different types of copy was. She just wrote blogs. So she didn't know you could sell through copy. Like there's so much, like some words she didn't even understand or know what it was. Right? And Jeanette came with a ton of different experiences. I had to relearn, re-engineer how Jeanette looked at managing people and like productivity. Like everyone sucked at it. When I started, I was terrible. I was terrible. Everybody is bad when they start. So expect them to make mistakes. Expect their not conflict with harmony. That's different. But I already told you what to do with that. But mistakes. What do you mean? Like, that's the part of growth. Like, you're all supposed to make mistakes and learn. It is not the mistakes that define whether the person should be there or not or who they are. It is the response to it. It's how they handle it and how you handle it that determines the success of your business.
Varti, huge points there. Huge, right? If we're talking conflict, I think my answer might be a little bit more aligned.
I agree with you.
If we're talking like mistakes, small little mistakes.
Even big mistakes.
Sure.
I'm talking mistakes though.
In general. Yes. Mistakes
are necessary.
Of course. They're learning ground.
Create a culture where it's okay to make a mistake. Yes. Is what I'm trying to say.
But creating conflict, Pavarti, if they're coming through and creating conflict, it's a different ball game there. There's an old age proverb. If the cat is bigger than the poop, you can keep the cat. Okay? But if the poop is bigger than the cat must go. Okay, Pavarti? It's a super wise proverb. Remember that.
And I'll give you a personal example. I know I'm hard to deal with at times. So I know I'm the cause of conflict in my team with somebody. I know that. As soon as I know that, I own it, because my ego doesn't let me in the moment. Eh? In the moment, you have to kind of defend yourself. Everyone becomes defensive. But after, when I reflect, I go, man, I'm the problem here. Because I remind myself again, no one here is working against me. They're working for me. They're working for the vision, for the goal. So what the hell's my problem? Why am I creating an issue with this person? Or I become unbearable to work with. Have you ever thought about that? See, most leaders turn around and say, if I only had good people. Well, the people are turning around and saying, if I only had a good leader.
That's true.
Right? Like, it's like, how do you not know you're the cause of conflict? Right? So a good way to find this out is asking openly with no ego, feedback. Hey, what's the problem? Me and a few members of my team last week had a very open discussion about how I am and how it's hard to work with how I am and how some parts of my personality make it very difficult to cooperate with me in certain scenarios. And I'm like,
true story.
I didn't know this. And funny enough, ironically, I was being exactly the way they're saying I'm being in that conversation about how I was being. So it wasn't until I walked away, I looked at everything, I go, man, I'm like this. It's actually terrible. If I worked for me and I was like this, I would be exactly acting like that. And then it's just the awareness. I'm saying they're I almost become humble. I could almost cry out of how grateful I am, because I think they're still here. Still dealing with me, still being courteous and respectful, and I'm giving them every reason to have an ego with me or an issue with me. So I'm the cause of conflict in this scenario, right? Because why would they in their right mind come if I was being a great person to them and to everybody? Why would they come and do that? They're not. So no one in my team has their own ill intention. That's how I know first, right? And you got to make sure of that in your team. But I'm like, man, I'm the cause here. And it's and the only reason why it's lasted this long is because I'm the owner of the company, so everyone just feels like they have to agree and respect. And I'm like, man, I don't want that. I don't want that's a BS kind of culture. It's all BS. Everyone's just lying to each other. I don't want that. That awareness is the first step. Maybe you got to change. Remember, your people are a reflection of you. Okay, your business is a reflection of you, like a mirror. I remember this early on. In the beginning, I had to get rid of, a lot of people came and went. I had no one from the first couple years of my business that worked with me is here today, right? So in the last 4 years, in the first 2 years, no one that's there is now here today. You know why? Because in those years, I dealt with a lot of issues. And I put it into my people. And then my people respond to me in this way, and I'm like, why are they like this? It's all messed up. And I realized I'm messed up. So it was unfair to blame others for it, because I either allowed it to happen in my culture or I was the instigator of it. Okay? One simple example is I love humor. But there's two types of humor in this world. There's the type that is at the cost and expense of other people, and there's a type that is neutral and beneficial to everybody. And I grew up in a family where the funniest type of humor was at the expense of other people, ridiculing them, making fun of them, and I was really good at it. So me introducing this type of humor in my culture, my team, opens doors to everybody thinking it's okay to do it with each other. And so when I get into a scenario where either I am now the victim of the humor, or someone is the victim of someone else's humor and I'm watching and I feel ill about it, I'm like, that's disrespectful, we shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, do I blame them? Or do I just take responsibility knowing I'm the one who said it's okay? Because if I never do that, if I've never done that and someone in my team does it, now I know they're the trigger there. I'll put them aside, I'll talk to them, whatever, and I'll be like, why do you do this? They'll probably have the same revelation I did, which is they came from my family. My point is, that one example, if they're having conflict in the team because of something I started, that's my fault. I don't give the other people a chance. So it's like, first, manage yourself. Make sure you're aligned with everything, and then look at the person and say, what's the deal there? Anyways, we can move on to the next question. But my answer: as many chances as possible if you're starting out. And remember, your job is to forgive and to help them improve. And if they want to improve, you should give them every opportunity to. If they don't, you'll feel it, you'll know it. Then in that case, you have a conversation about you don't want to be here, do something else, right? And that's not about you're not good enough for me. It's more so, I don't think you want to be here, so what's your goals, right?
Yeah.
And if their goals are to be here, then every chance you get, give them to improve. Because how else are they going to get better, right? Your capacity to forgive and love your people, no matter what, is how big you're going to grow and how loyal they're going to be. In a scenario where you're much bigger and you can afford to, you just need someone to get the job done, which is still very limited leadership in my perspective, then letting them go off the first chance is like what you do. It's very corporate. Or if their personality is they're deliberately being an issue, yes, that person needs work on the personality. You cut them off after. Don't let them say it because it'll pollute the environment of the rest of your people. But that's not a mistake. That's conflict of personality.
Yeah.
But conflict usually starts with one person. And in a team environment, the leader is always the cause first. Always. Anyways. Good.
Question number 2. We're in a time of remote work because of the pandemic and etc. How can I keep my culture alive even though we can't see each other the same way? That question is from Thomas L.
It's how can I keep the culture alive if you can't see each other in person?
Yeah, they're working from home, working remotely.
Yeah, Zoom and seeing each other in person is no different. We worked for, how long did we work on Zoom?
3
weeks? 3
months?
3 months, yeah, on Zoom. How many?
3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
2 or 3 months?
Really?
Yeah.
You don't remember? There was a time when I just came to the office
It was like 2 or 3 months, yeah.
for like a month, no?
From like, no. It was from like April to like July. From
Not
like
July,
April.
not to July, no.
We came
in June,
back.
in-
We came back in like mid-July.
Anyways,
Yeah, we did.
the point
We came
is,
back and-
culture still stayed the same. You want to have consistent contact. So on Zoom, I think we got on a call every single day.
Yeah.
Or what we used to do is back then, we would do a morning call. So even though we all knew we were working and I didn't like monitor anyone or whatever, we didn't get on Zoom calls all day. What we did is we did a 30-minute morning call where we all got on, laughed a bunch, and then set our goals for the day, and then we went and worked. So culture is not about in-person or not in-person. It's just about consistent contact. So that's it. Just use video calls, get on calls with each other. That's it. And as a leader, make an effort to individually also meet people, so they feel like you also notice them, and it's not just a team thing. But that's pretty much it. I mean, the culture. If your culture is, if there's any business where I had to be like you have to be in person, it was mine because I was running live events. My team was in an office. So if we can do Zoom and Facebook video call or WhatsApp calls together once a day, twice a day, that's more than enough. You can't control what happens in their personal life. Like I'm 1,000% positive every single person in this room at some point didn't work during the work hours when they're at home. That's not a big deal to me because, like I said, it's not a make or break of a company. However, that's not your problem. Just make sure that they're getting their stuff done. Make sure there's consistent contact, and that's it. Like if your culture dies out just because you don't see each other, and it can't be converted into a chat, Zoom, or video call, that's not good culture anyways. Like your culture needs work. So that's actually a good way to look at it. If not being able to see each other in person is what ruins the culture, like culture falls apart, that means the culture wasn't strong anyways. So the culture was so strong that even on Zooms, it made no difference. Even on video calls, it made no difference. But if your culture isn't strong anyways, it's hanging by a thread in person, then yeah, obviously when you don't see each other, nobody wants to talk to each other at all. So everyone's just running away. That means your culture isn't strong. It's not about how do you keep a culture strong during COVID and not being able to see each other. More so, how do you just get a stronger culture?
Yeah.
And if you guys want to learn how to build a stronger culture, I recommend you go to Valuetainment's YouTube channel. There's a video on 24 things or 25 things to create great company culture. Really good video. Very good. There's like 25 different things you could do to create company culture. We do a lot of them, by the way.
Really?
Which is why I realized we have good culture.
What do we do?
I've
I've never seen that video.
Humor.
Okay.
Having humor in the market. We in the company, we laugh every day. Music. Everybody's always playing music with each other. I bring in my own personality, which is superhero theme songs and stuff like that, and music and cinematicness, and everyone's kind of picked that up to some degree. So the culture is like strong in that sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The piece has to do with pranks. I think I'm good with humor. I don't agree with the prank thing. I don't know because someone has to be a victim in that sense. But yeah. So there's a lot of things.
We go on
game nights.
We do game nights.
Guys, you know what this is? You know what this is right here? Those are battle scars.
I can't show mine. I literally have it's like this big. The bruise on my arm.
Lauren's is like this,
Yeah.
Lauren
looks like she got ate
we
by a zombie.
didn't hit each other, don't worry. But last Friday, every 2 weeks, we go to game night. So we have a game night. We either play Monopoly, watch a movie. We last week we went all out. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna do something crazy. So I took everybody out to an escape room. And it was next level, okay? We took everyone out last Friday to escape room, and it was like an hour. We did really well. We almost beat the whole thing, and I realized we work well together. Like it's one cool thing. And then afterwards, I took him to a place called Arena Wars, where we played Nerf gun in an arena together against each other, and like soft arrows.
I'm calling it battle archery, kind of.
Battle archery. So the arrows have like these massive marshmallow heads, so it doesn't hurt when it hits you, but I mean.
But it hurts when it hits you.
And so we were like running around in an arena shooting at each other, and so every time we shoot, the string of the bow and arrow would scrape our skin.
Yeah.
And that's what this is for. But man.
Very Legolas, very Lord of the Rings, if you will.
It was like my dream. But yeah, we played against each other, and we had like 4 hours of gaming together, and we finished off at dinner. That's like a whole date night, like half the day. It was great. Point is, playing games together. Competition, like that was competition.
Technically, yeah.
I'm thinking of ways to bring contest and competition into
might as well.
What is that?
Lauren, you might as well just quit.
Oh my god.
And it's interesting, even like we talk about game nights, but almost every single game night we learn more and more about each other as team members, as individuals.
We bond together, yeah.
We really do bond. So and this doesn't mean that you have to go to an activity room or something like that. Like we literally play Monopoly, we play Coup, you can play card games over Zoom. You can really be imaginative with your team. If you guys aren't we started coming to the office, I would say a month or two ago. But if your office is still remote, do cute games over Zoom. Just
you could play games online with
what's that game we played? Cash Flow Quadrant. Robert Kiyosaki's game. Yeah. You can be in different places and log in on different computers.
Monopoly online.
Monopoly is online. There are so many options for you to connect with your team right now.
Or create contests in the company or competition so that everyone could have fun with each other. There's a lot of ways. Go watch that video from Valuetainment. He does a way better job in explaining. My point is, your culture should be strong. If a COVID... Okay, so my answer. If COVID or social distancing was the cause of your culture falling apart, you didn't have culture in the first place, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Adversities or challenges in coming to a team should make them stronger if culture is there. If there is no culture, it is the first sign or opportunity for everyone to run.
Yeah.
So, you get what I'm saying?
I agree.
If you're in a relationship and the first opportunity you have to break up, break up, there was no relationship.
Very true.
There wasn't. You guys were just waiting to break up. So, if your team is waiting to run, that should tell you something about you as a leader.
No, I'm just joking. But yeah, honestly, I think that's pretty much it. Get creative, watch that Valuetainment video, and make the environment fun again. You ready for the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. To expand my
By the way, if you guys are watching right now, listen, if you're watching on YouTube, okay, hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell. Make sure if you like the content you're seeing, you subscribe to get more information like this, more content, more free coaching. Go to askarmin.com right here. and submit your questions to get free coaching on it, just like this, if you want coaching like this. And guys, if you're on social media, share this post so that more people can hop on, so we can have some more fun.
Awesome.
And if you like this new setup, let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
and
please.
on YouTube, on Facebook, let us know if you guys like this setup. If you want to keep doing it like this, if you enjoy it like this, then we'll continue like this. Okay, cool.
Do we have any comments, actually? Now that we're here.
Armin's Instagram. Panels, Dan the Fungi, Positive Life Storyteller, and Sadat Laila all wave and emojis.
Cool.
Dan the Fungi says Armin jacked.
Armin jacked.
Yeah,
You look jacked.
Yeah, you
Great.
look jacked. And Positive Self Storyteller says I disagree, and I think he was talking about Jeanette's
Sure.
opinion.
Yeah, that's
about
okay.
Firing people.
That is right in certain scenarios.
Yeah. I've managed different types of teams, so you know.
And in your position, you needed to cut off faster because it was a liability to keep someone around that.
Oh,
Because you guys had a
100%.
lineup of
100%.
of engineers that wanted to come code for you guys, right? So that in that scenario makes sense.
I've been let's be
In a
honest. I've been-
startup,
yeah.
no, you shouldn't.
And that goes hand in hand with Armin saying, like, when I came into this environment, I had to be taught
Completely different.
from a different level of leadership and understanding with humans. My background is definitely more like this gotta happen or this can happen.
Do you know how many situations?
Very cut and dry. So
You know how many situations? I think that even goes into customers. Okay. You know.
Oh yeah.
Do you know how many situations I've forgiven clients that owe me money, that have wronged me in some way, and I sit there. I've had Jeanette write up really nasty emails that like my ego fully wrote, and I'm like, don't send it yet. I sit down and I meditate. I turn around, I'm like, delete it. And she goes, are you sure? Because everything I said in the email is true.
Yeah.
And I might delete it. And I delete it, and she deletes it, and then we write a whole new one, completely positive, completely forgiving, open-ended, and like allowing the person to kind of be a good person on their side.
Yeah.
And it always worked out.
Yeah.
Where we realized it was a misunderstanding, miscommunication, and it's not that people don't owe me money still. I'm not, it comes with the perks of I have peace of mind even though people owe me money.
Yeah.
And I look at that and go, that's fine. Like, but if I was like that with customers, I'll be like that with people. I'll be like that with family.
100%.
You'll be like that with your own kids one day. Like I would stay away from being that. That cut and dry. But how many
You've
times?
definitely taught me a different level.
And she looks at me. She's like, "Are you sure?
Understanding.
We could really ruin this, payback." And I'm like,
but that's just based on my history,
and
my
again,
past
I
connections.
know but
all
it's
of the
not that it's
above.
not right.
Yeah.
It's right in some scenarios.
Yeah.
Some people, you need to be like this. But
Yeah.
it is the philosophy I have that I've been learning through my maturity of being an
100%.
entrepreneur is that, like I said, you need to create a space. You got to be willing to let people learn from their mistakes. And it's like when when you're in a conflict with someone, and trust me, they know.
Yeah.
They know. They might act like they're right, but they know inside something's wrong and that some of it's their fault. So when you're so compassionate, so forgiving and understanding that you allow that part of them to come out, you make the person a better person.
Wow,
Right?
you really taught me that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm having a moment. Put the music, Isaiah. Put the music.
Edit this.
Armin taught me how to be understanding. I was mean. Just a little bit.
She was necessary.
Yeah, I was like the enforcer.
She was a way where it was beneficial for some companies. For our company, I'm like, Jay, you gotta.
He's like, chill.
Yeah, you gotta relax. It's okay. But when I have to depend on her to be like that, I can't.
Oh, very much so.
I
What
can't.
at events, Jeanette, go make this. Yep, I'm on it, and then it's fixed.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So it's not that it's completely wrong. It's just when you're in leadership, if you want to have peace in your life,
Yeah.
just learn to make it your normal to be forgiving and understanding. Doesn't mean allow people to just walk all over you or do the wrong things. I mean, encourage them to get better, but be the person who gets it. Like, I understand why you were terrible to me yesterday, or why you lied, or why you're deliberately being like, I get it. Listen, I forgive you. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. Give people a chance to make up for themselves. That is how humans are developed. How do you think leaders are made? From the mistakes and the crap. The best leaders, the best heroes come from the dark. It means they were forgiven for doing the crap that they used to do, and now, they're better.
Yeah.
You got to give people chances for redemption. That's the only way leaders are born. So, depends on your goal. So, any other comments? Any questions? Live? Cool.
Awesome.
What's the next question?
Okay. To expand my team, should I be looking to hire younger people? I'm technically a millennial 80s baby. Should I be focused on younger millennials or Gen Z? That question is from Victoria Shante. Shante? Yeah, Shante. Let's go with that.
Should you hire millennials? Is she starting out? Is the question.
To expand her team. So she
Expand
probably
her
has a couple people. I'm assuming you probably have a couple people you want to expand.
I'll give a short answer to this quickly,
Sure.
which is the younger they are, the easier the more coachable, the more open-minded. Obviously, the older they are, the more they have learned, and more stuck in their tracks they are. But they might have skills and expertise that young people don't. So it's a pro and a con for both sides. One side, if you get someone that's older, they have experience, you can depend on their being good. But they're less coachable. Probably you have to more adjust to them because they're more stuck in the way they are. The younger, you got to understand, there's gonna be a lot of mistakes happening, a lot of growth, a lot of I don't know what to do, but they're more coachable, and malleable. Obviously, my team is made up of all young people. I didn't look for young people. You know, it just kind of this is who showed up. So I would say the focus should not be who should I hire. Like you don't interview two people, 120, 135, and go, I want to choose the younger one. No, don't look at it like that. It's not about age. It's about character. I look at character and personality. If the person's 40 years old and they're amazing to work with, I don't care how old they are.
Yeah.
You know, if they're good at what they do, if they're open to understanding, I would look at character and personality, not at age. Okay. However, there's a pro to millennials. Millennials are more learnable, teachable. Understanding. Like there's more. Like the younger you are, the more growth. Like they'll value learning more than just money. But the older it is, it depends on where your business is at. The older it is, you could depend on them being good. And that's not true all the time. Someone
It's
at
true.
22 spent maybe the last 2 years mastering digital marketing, and the guy at 35 kind of never went deep into it, and he's been doing it for 7 years, and he's worse than the guy at 22, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at it as age or millennial or gen this, gen that. I didn't look at that when I was growing my team. I just kind of focused on my vision, worked hard, and the people that showed up is who I looked at.
Yeah.
So, but the only pros and cons I would look at, like I said, if you're exchanging someone older, you're getting probably more experience, more expertise. Hopefully, if you are, you're exchanging that for the fact that they're more the way they are and it's uncoachable. That's not always true. I'm just saying that's usually the case. Whereas if you exchange it for younger bracket age, they're not going to have that kind of experience or wisdom or expertise, but you can coach them more. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I wouldn't take someone who's young and super da-da-da and make them your accountant or your CPA. I have a very mature, very old, very older than me accountant. Like we have someone we depend on for our stuff that matters or legal or something like that. But other things that are teachable that are not that serious and more so room for mistakes is younger. But I didn't look for that. It's not about age. It's about the person himself or herself.
Yeah, definitely take a look, like Armin said, about their personality. It really doesn't matter about age. For example, you say you're an 80s baby, so that means you're like 30-ish. I'm sure that you've met people who are younger than you who you gel really well with. I'm sure you've met people who are older than you who you gel really well with. The same is said for all of us here, right? We all have different personalities, and it either is going to gel or it's not. Take a look at the skill set of the individual. If they are what you need and their personality is going to be in harmony with yours and the environment is going to work, it really shouldn't matter how old they are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right?
Cool. We can go to the next question too.
Well, let's do it. So I'm going to skip this next one. How can I be creative and efficient at the same time? Does one supersede another? That question is from Jerry Roston.
Jerry Roston.
Do you have an answer?
Do you?
I do.
I have one, but I want to hear yours.
Okay. I personally feel like you shouldn't put a time limit on creativity. If you're in creative mode and you're building a product or you're making art or whatever it is, you should allow your creativity to go as far as you need it to go. Of course, that goes hand in hand with, obviously, your business has to still run. So you have to make sure you're in a position to, exercise that creativity. If you're not, then of course you should time it. But, I'm of the school of thought that if we're in creative mode in business time, like this, in our business, we're in creative mode versus delivering or bringing the product forward or actually doing that model of your, doing the things that make your business run. So selling, whatever that looks like, sure. But if you're in creative mode and you've got the time and the energy to create a product, you should spend all of your time on that. So I wouldn't say that one supersedes another specifically, but I would say that your creation, you shouldn't necessarily put a time limit on, or is this efficient or is this not efficient? Do what you need to do to be creative and get it all on the table, whatever you're talking about. And then if you're talking about efficiency, when we're talking about that other side of business where it's selling, scaling, bringing your product to market, all of these parts of all of these things that are not creation, which is this is the finished product and how do I actually get it to move my business forward, that I think you should worry about making efficient or time effective, would be my answer.
I think creativity is efficiency. So if you're creative, where do you think all your ideas in your business come from? Creativity. Where do you think your ability to solve problems come from? Creativity. It's not, if you already knew what to always do, that's based on logic and memory, but you don't. The point of growth is that you don't. You go outside of what you know, and that's creativity. So I wouldn't separate the two, from, it's like saying, how much time should I spend being fit versus healthy? It's the same thing.
That's true.
Creative is eating well and exercising are in the same boat. You don't separate them because one without the other doesn't make sense. So efficiency comes from being creative because the more creativity you use to grow your business, the more efficient you're becoming. So I'm assuming in an example, physical example, you would say creativity is about learning or idea brainstorming and all that, and you think that's inefficient. Like we spend 5 hours in one marketing meeting, and that's all creativity based. That's efficient though because we're innovating how to get ahead. Yeah. Right? And efficiency, I'm assuming you're just saying that it's just like actual getting stuff done. Well, then in that case, it's like you should have a very good balance. So for me, it's kind of like I want to say an 80-20 rule. Like I spend, like the company, we spend 80% of our time executing, which is efficiency, and 20% of our time being creative. And like we set up meetings or we spend a day or something, we learn something and we go and execute. Yeah. In my experience, and this is limited experience, you could ask someone that's 10 years in business, maybe I have a different experience. In my experience, when you learn something, it takes time to implement it. So if we sit down in a marketing meeting for the month and we spend 20% of our time innovating all these new ideas, it will take us 3-4 weeks to execute it and actually get data enough to see if it works. For example, it might take me a day to make brand new ads. That's creativity, right? But it's also efficient. Yeah. I film the ads, make the ads, write the ads, all the stuff with the team, but then we spend 2-3 weeks testing the ads. So it's like 80-20. We spend most of our time executing the ideas, but the creativity comes in a blitz where we learn what we're going to do. But I wouldn't. I guess that's kind of an answer to how much time should I spend on each. But I wouldn't say don't look at the 20% as not efficient.
That's true, and I think that's a good point that you said.
I would say creativity versus execution, not efficiency.
Yes, I like that better. I like that better.
All of it's efficient.
Yes.
But creativity versus execution, yes. 80-20 for us has been working. I'm not saying that's the only way though.
True. Yeah.
What's the next question?
I'm gonna go back up. I don't know who's putting the questions up, but I'm gonna go back up to the first one. Should I hire freelancers or look for people to join my team full time? I feel like we might have answered this. No, like recently?
No. This is a
couple episodes ago. But
I'm actually in a mastermind group, and somebody asked that, and I answered. Just this last night, I think. So the answer is, the question is, should I hire freelancers
or look for people?
Outsource.
Yeah, should I outsource?
Or bring someone in house?
Or bring someone in house to be with me.
It's actually a great question for a startup. If you're starting out, if you're a coach. Business, online business, offline business. It depends on the business, obviously. Conventional, you need someone in-house because you need them there. But if you have the luxury of outsourcing or in-house, I've always been a very traditional, old-fashioned kind of guy. Like I want someone in my team in here. But that comes with pros and cons. And not always do you need to be like that. If you have the option, what I would say is you outsource first and learn how to manage your expectations, your leadership, your clear instructions in workflow with the person outsourced because they'll cost less money and they'll only work on exactly a project you give them. So you can almost practice how to manage and lead with a person and work with a person to get stuff done for your company with an outsourced person, a freelancer.
Good point.
When you can do that effectively, then you bring it to hiring someone in-house who will do it for you. I'll give you an example. I used to hire out ads people. Okay, so the last part of my business I really disliked was like ads because it was so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
So I would sit there. I would outsource it. I've had like 3 people run my ads over the last 3 years. I hired them, pay them, whatever, a small portion of money a month, and they spend their small portion of time and just make ads and run them for me. Yeah. And it wasn't until I got really clear with what I want from the ads, what to expect, how to understand it with them. Until I realized I can do this in-house, then I brought it to give it to someone in my team, and I trained them with what I was doing with the people I was hiring for ads. So what I got from the people I was hiring, the freelancers for ads, I just brought in-house and I trained someone in my team full-time to do it. So I went from outsource and learning to make sure that's perfected first, because it costs us money, less risk. It's not a salary that I sign up and employ. It's a way less commitment, but I practiced that role and position. Then I would bring that in, translate to someone full-time, because I also know I can get more out of a person here full-time than I would from a freelancer, because that person can learn multiple different things like this, right? So it's actually more cost efficient to have someone full-time, even though it might look like they charge more. Like if you pay more for salary than someone, let's say you pay someone a $3,000 salary versus someone who's charged $1,000 a month to do something for you, you wouldn't think you're paying more. You might think that. In the grand scheme of things, though, that person you're paying, a few thousand or $2,000-$3,000 a month to, right, can do 4 to 5 different major things that you would outsource for. So you're saving money-wise.
Yeah.
But it takes longer to train a person like that. You have to know what to teach them. They have to be good at it. There's so many variables that have to fall in place. So that's why it's a lot easier to practice those skills with an outsourced person, because at any moment you can stop. So I've hired social media people, and then I in-housed it. But first I learned with them what it's like and what it would be like. I took everything I learned from them and I said, okay, I could teach someone in my team to do this for me. And then I translate. So a very smart strategy is outsource, master the outsource, make sure your business can run with someone outsourced. Because if you can't take someone that's specializing in one specific thing in your business for you, pay them a fraction of the cost, and have them do it properly for you based off you knowing what you want, how do you expect to do it with someone who's here spending 8 hours a day with you, right? Mm-hmm. So you practice with that and you bring it in. Yeah. And we just recently hired a new VA again, so we added a new person to our team, and we started at 6-7 hours a week. And so that's actually the first person that I'm giving to my team to manage without me. So I'm making them follow the same process I followed. You see what I'm saying? I'm now having the team manage this one VA to do the smaller things, assistance for them, until I can eventually hire someone in-house that they work under the supervision of someone on my team, under the supervision of me. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think outsourcing to full-time is the right strategy. It's the least amount of risk, highest amount of practice around all that. So
yeah, I think pretty much I agree with what Armin is saying, but it depends on the job that you need done, right? If you want someone who is, the reason that you outsource or go to freelancers is because they are going to do something specific, and Armin said that. They're going to do something specific for you and get that done, right? So you've got to take a look at what positions you need to get somebody for. If you want somebody who's specific, they've crafted their skills, they know exactly what to do on subject A, that's the way to go. If you need someone who you need to learn A, B, and C, then it might be very important for you to get someone on your team to be there with you that you can build up and grow and expand with. Yeah. But it just depends on the level of work that you need done, I think, as well, is something you should ask yourself. Like, if you just need one singular thing, it might not make sense for you to hire someone full-time who just is going to do one thing for you.
Oh, by the way, no, it's not about it doesn't make sense. That is not.
Yeah, don't do it.
Do not do that. Don't hire someone full-time for one only thing.
Yeah.
That actually makes no sense.
Legit.
The only scenario where economically, like through money, when you think about just money, where it makes sense to hire a full-time person is when that person can handle 3 to 5 major things.
Yeah.
Because for the amount of time you're paying them to be here, they'll get done, hopefully 5 to 10 times the value of what you're paying them done for you. Mm-hmm. So like a salesperson, I only want to keep a salesperson on my team if they're producing 10 times the ROI of what their commission is. So if I want a salesperson to be on my team, I want them to produce like $100,000 of revenue for the company for them to get paid 10 to 15 grand. That is what your margin should be like. With a person, if you're paying a person, even $3,000 a month, they should be saving or producing $30,000 worth of value in your company for you to justify paying them that money. You see what I'm saying? So one employee in a corporation is worth like 10 times what they get paid.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the model work for a corporate model. But for outsourcing, you pay them exactly for what they do. Yeah. So that's why it's cheaper. It should be cheaper.
Technically.
And then you practice that to teach someone else. And there's a side benefit an extra answer on top of this is, what's the first person you should ever hire? So if you are going to start hiring someone to help you if you're a one-person show, what's the first person? The first person always to hire is an assistant, nothing else. So start with a virtual assistant. If you can't manage a virtual assistant where everything's logged online, you cannot do it in person, okay? And if you can't do that, you cannot hire someone with a specialized skill. So first ever person I got that I hired like actually on pay was an assistant. And then I go into I think the second person I ever hired was salespeople, because from my assistant I was taking care of all the tech stuff and all the marketing. My assistant helped me with that, and then the salesperson would help me with sales, right? And then eventually it turned into like specialize in just my events, specialize in just my marketing, but you do it slowly. First person you should ever hire though is an assistant, and delegate all of the time-consuming tasks that it doesn't require a lot of skill to do to that person, because then you don't have to train them to be good at something. They just have to learn how to execute something you're asking them to do, and then you can focus on specialized things until you're so good at it you can hire someone to teach them how to do it, and gradually you'll blossom into a team full of experts where everyone is doing good stuff. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, I think we're just about at the mark.
Yeah.
1 hour mark. Are we gonna tell them our little switcheroo for next week?
Honestly,
or we're gonna post about it.
Up to you guys. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
Okay, guys. So suspense. Okay, awesome. So for next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going to change how the show is being presented. You're still going to be able to watch it on YouTube after Isaiah does all of the edits. However, to watch the show live, you're going to have to join our private community on Armin's Facebook. We will be posting about it on both Armin's Instagram, Armin's Facebook, my Instagram. So if you want to be on the Clear Talk show, if you want to watch the show, if you want to send us questions and get a better, ability to let us know what you like, what you don't like, and be on the show and let us know how we can improve it, we're going to have you join our private community. So stay tuned to that announcement throughout the rest of the week, so you can get a better, one-on-one opportunity with both Armin and myself. So that's all for now.
Yeah, that's it.
Armin, you're going to sign us off?
Yeah, of course. So thanks again for watching the Clear Talk show for coaches, number one show for coaches and entrepreneurs who need clarity. If you want your questions answered on the show, all you got to do is go to askarmin.com right here.
It's going to be
askarmin.com
in the universe.
And post your questions. Post your questions to get them answered live on the show. And if you're on Facebook and Instagram, make sure you share and like this. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about the new setup and what part you took away from the show. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell if you want notifications on when we post the next Clear Talk episode and our free trainings for coaches, which we have a lot of cool ones coming up, by the way. A lot of good things that we can help you out with. So until we see you next time, we go live every single Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern time to answer your questions and help you out in your business. We love you so much. Thanks for watching, and make the rest of your week the best of your week.